Very pleased to welcome Professor Karim Lakhani from Harvard Business School. Thank you very much. The world of academia and the professional world, corporate world, are somehow basically in some places disconnected, in some places better than others. How are you optimizing, relaying the best practices in the world of academia to the private sector?
Yeah, great question. So our mission in the Harvard Business School is to educate leaders who make a difference in the world. That's our mission statement. And so what that means is knowledge dissemination is at the heart of our mission at the Harvard Business School. And so the way we do that is several ways. We have our own programs, for example, we have an MBA program, we have a very extensive executive education program, which touches about 12,000 executives per year. And then on top, we have an online program that reaches hundreds of thousands of people as well. So that's been our current way by which the knowledge produced by over 200 faculty members at Harvard Business School gets transmitted and it gets actually co-created by practice. In fact, the signature approach for learning at the Harvard Business School is the case method. And so the way we do the case method is we work with companies, we study the issues the executives are facing, and then we use that to then create the learning around that. So it's a two-way street in what we do. And our institute, the Digital Data Design Institute, is really focused now on the topic of AI, is how do we scale both knowledge generation, but also learning for the rest of the world as well.
We saw His Excellency, we are in the UAE, they are quite developed and focusing a lot on AI. So it's not a thing, it's a vice versa, two-way knowledge sharing. How are you developing knowledge sharing across the borders?
So the way we do that is twofold. One is by translating our content that we have in multiple languages. We're using AI tools to create the translations. But then also by having events like this here, where we're in the region, we're working, we have a global alumni population of close to 90,000 people around the world. And so we connect with our alums, they connect us with the various leaders in their regions, and then we have a two-way dialogue, both in terms of what's happening, but then how do we actually learn with them? And a big portion that we're also trying to do is also find collaborators in the regions to work with as well on our research.
In terms of governance, regulations, many core, including Elon Musk, for the necessity of governing and developing a framework, legal framework for AI before it goes or might go out of proportion. How do you foresee this and what is your role in this regard?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, it's an emerging topic. Nobody really has a handle on it because the pace of change in the technology far exceeds any one organization, a regulator's approach to be able to absorb it and to use it. So what I often say is that there are some foundational issues around ethics of AI, whether that be privacy, security, transparency, and so on and so forth. So we can outline those different areas which are of concern for us, which matter for policy. And then to address those concerns, there are three major ways. There are technical ways, right? We know that if there's bias in the data, you can reduce the bias by rethinking your technology approach. You also reduce the bias by making sure that you're, like by social systems, right? You basically say there's a technology solution, there's a social solution, and there's a policy solution. And so instead of sort of getting overwhelmed with the pace of change, there are foundational topics that I hope the regulators follow, and then they look at three different ways, technical, social, and policy solutions to the concerns of ethics that we have.
Sustainability, we are in the second year of sustainability here in the UAE and AI. It's a controversial, it's an ongoing debate.
I don't think it's controversial. Why do you think it's controversial?
Some of them in terms of basically the energy that needs. So how do you foresee or how do you recommend that AI will contribute for a smoother and rapid transition?
Yeah, so I would say there are three fundamental ways to think about AI and sustainability and especially energy use. One is, for the last 20 years, there's been conversations about smart grid, for example. Much of that has not come to pass yet, but we could deploy AI to actually have a smart grid come in because there's so much wastage in our current use conditions, for example. So I think that matters. Second is AI as a provider of expertise and as a problem solver can be used by scientists, by engineers to actually come up with brand new innovations. There was a fantastic study that came out recently out of MIT that showed that scientists could be using AI to come up with novel materials. And the best scientists got better with AI. So imagine using AI to solve sustainability problems, right? We know, for example, that transmission losses on wire lines are 30%, for example, which is just wasted because we're transmitting. There's always been the hope of superconductors and so on and so forth. Well, hopefully we imagine that AI can be helpful in that. The third bit is the massive use right now of data centers for training and inference of these models is, from my perspective, still based on early sort of lab to market transition of these technologies. We haven't done the true engineering, for example, on algorithms, on data architectures, on systems architectures, and so forth. And remember, all of this ChatGPT world is only 2 years old. And so what I expect is that real hardcore engineering is going to be applied and efficiencies will come through. So the worries right now of energy use, from my perspective, are transitory. They're not permanent.
Dr. Karim, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.